former President Jacob Zuma will know if his application to prosecutor Billy Downer has been successful or not on the 26th of October. Zuma is accusing Downer of not being fit to preside over the case. Our reporter Karinda Jagmohan is following that story and joins us live from the Pietermaritzburg High Court. A very good afternoon to you, Karinda. It has been a day and a half of arguments in the court. What have been some of the key motivations that have been presented by the former president's legal representatives?
Indeed. Well, good afternoon to you. I'll start with this. The relief order that Advocate Dali Mpofu is seeking on behalf of former President Jacob Zuma, the draft order they've asked Judge Pitkun to sign off on. The first point of that is that they want Judge Pitkun to order that prosecutor William Downer, Billy Downer as we know him, lacks the title to proceed in these or to prosecute in these proceedings. And then going forward, in fact, maybe we can, you can see some, the advocates actually leaving now as I continue. They've just left the court now and are about to head off. We're going to try and speak to them. Let's try and get off tripod and get to these advocates here. Apologies to our viewers for the delay. Let's try and grab Dali Mpofu here. Now, this proceedings, as you mentioned, Tommy, went on for about quite a while, and they're also asking the court to request assistance with the breach, they say, the leak of documents. Advocate Dali Mpofu, we live on Newzroom Afrika. If I can just perhaps get a word with you, arguments made by you, can you just perhaps tell our viewers about what you do expect come October 26th? Do you feel that your arguments were strong enough, sir?
No, well, it's not for me to feel anything. I do my work. For a comment, you can speak to Mr. Mani over there, but thank you very much.
Okay, well, we tried to just get some comments there from Advocate Dali Mpofu. Apologies to our viewers for that. But like I mentioned, he asked for a draft order on 4 points. The first, that the state prosecutor, Advocate Billy Downer, be removed from this case, citing that Downer does not have the title to prosecute in this matter. And then speaking about conversations, they want a special plea hearing where they discuss the acquittal regarding charges in this case. Then going on to speak about the breach by the NPA, Dali Mpofu claiming that the NPA leaked documents to a journalist. This was medical records that were presented previously to the court by Zuma's attorneys, or rather Zuma's military doctors. And after these documents were presented by the court, the advocate Dali Mpofu alleges that Billy Downer leaked these documents, unsigned documents, to a journalist that further published what he said was confidential medical reports. So these are some of the issues that came out today, discussed over a day and a half, and much of the response today was over Wim Trengrove's arguments, the NPA's state advocate, and he argued really that Zuma's advocates are bringing up old arguments. They're repeating the same old arguments, and that indeed they said, Billy Downer an apology for questioning his integrity. Some of the arguments being made by Advocate Dali Mpofu was that Downer has been too emotional in this case, and Zuma is actually alleging that Downer is using this trial as his own personal legacy project. But these, of course, arguments that will be then further summarized on October 26th, and judgment will be handed down. Judge Pitkun saying that he needs some time, about 4 weeks at least, to write this judgment out and try and assist in getting to the crux of this, getting to the crux of whether or not Downer indeed has the title to prosecute in this matter. But only come 26th October will we know further about this, and this has been described as almost a trial within a trial, because this is only still the beginning. We're yet to actually see the start of the decades in the making long arms deal trial that the former president has been embroiled in.
And you mentioned there, Karinda, the reaction from Wim Trengrove. Let's listen in to what he had to say about all the allegations that were being made about Billy Downer.
Papers at all. He's not asking for an opportunity to adduce any other evidence. he realizes that his conspiracy theories do not stand up against the credible first-hand refutation of those conspiracy theories. And therefore he asks for a fresh, judicially initiated inquiry into the question whether he has a special defense. Now, it's a process which is unheard of in our law, that the case does not hinge on any particular dispute of fact. He's not asking for any dispute of fact to be referred to oral evidence. He's asking for the whole case to start again. And he's asking for it to not only to start again, but to be determined by a procedure entirely foreign to our law of a judicially initiated inquiry to determine whether a special defense for which no prima facie case has been made can in fact be established.
So as you wrap up, Karinda, the past a couple of days, so I guess everything waits until the 26th?
Indeed, wait until the October 26th, because this is when we'll actually be able to know whether or not Dana will continue to prosecute in this case. Dana has been at the helm of the arms deal trial for decades now, and what Dali Mpofu has argued is that he has been too emotional in this case, that he cried when hearing some of the spy tape saga. And just speaking to those issues, now if indeed Dana is removed as this case, and of course Zuma is also requesting and alleging that the entire NPA is biased against him, and then further requesting acquittal in terms of the case against him. But if Dana is indeed removed as prosecutor in this case, it's going to take some time now for the courts then to deliberate and decide on a way forward. New advocates would have to be appointed as well. Let's speak now. So if you can just tell us, what is your reaction going forward? You know, we've just heard a brief wrap-up report. What do you think would be the outcome come October 26th?
No, I think the case is very clear, straightforward. The judge will have no option, but with the solid case put there by Advocate Mpofu, the judge has got only one option: to rule in favor of the legal team of President Zuma. Indeed, the NPA and Downer, there's more than enough evidence to show that they indeed lack the title to prosecute. The issue of the leaking of the medical records was a highlight of their lack of ethics, was a highlight of their lack of the right credentials to do this case. I mean, in their own version, despite their denials yesterday, in their own version, they say they gave out an unsigned document. Now, if it's unsigned, it means it hasn't got the registrar of the court. It means it's not a public document. So they've admitted to having given a document that is in that nature. Even more, they even in their own version say that they indicated when should the thing be published. In other words, they even coached the journal. So all of those are all unethical things. So indeed, these people are not right for this job.
On account of those medical records, it spoke about how there was a significant risk to the life of the former president, and he's taking those issues further. Can you just tell us about those processes with regards to the alleged leakage of documents?
Yeah, look, President Zuma is actually quite disturbed by the issue of his leaked documents. And not only that, also the underhand manner in which Downer and the team tried to go and examine President Zuma. All of those underhanded dealings were not procedural. There was no order to say, now go and examine President Zuma, because there was no cause for that. There was no postponement in place, so therefore there was no reason for that. So that is the one thing. But crucially, it's also important that President Zuma has now said that he feels so strongly about this matter that he has instructed his legal team that they must go and open a criminal case against Downer and them for leaking his medical records if this Ramaphosa investigation does not bear any fruit. Yeah.
And will we ever see the former president in court personally, even at the start of his trial, which is yet to begin?
We are hopeful that's going to happen in due course. We live in hope. We think President Zuma still has a lot to contribute into this country, so we all hope that he recovers fully and he makes his contribution. People of South Africa love President Zuma despite what mainstream media is trying to do. People of South Africa have got a lot of hope that President Zuma must still do one or two things to make their lives better. So indeed, he's somebody that's very loved in this country. So we hope that his health improves.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Just a doorstop there with the Jacob Zuma Foundation's Mzwanele. But let's speak now to, if we can, legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala. Sir, a quick wrap today in terms of what we saw yesterday. Can you just tell us about what are your views so far about what we have heard in this case?
Definitely, they're still trying to interpret the wide and narrow interpretation of the title to prosecute. And judging from what we heard today, I don't think the judge would have been swayed into leaning towards the side of the former president in terms of making sure that the title to prosecute was really removed by the manner in which, or the conduct engaged in by the prosecutor, Advocate Billy Downer. Obviously on the 26th, that answer would then be given by this honorable court. But judging from the manner and the type of questions that were being asked, the type of clarities that were being requested, I think the judge is quite clear as to what the title actually means, which, by the way, it is purely administrative at this stage. There are other instances in which one can then come in and argue that the conduct engaged in by the prosecutor is not one which is noble and hence subjects or is in contravention of Section 35. Linked to that is the other provision in the Criminal Procedure Act, like Section 174, which then allows an accused person to say, the way in which I've been prosecuted, the charges against me are so frivolous that I shouldn't even have to answer. Here's my 174, judge, you must find against me. So those are the type of instances in which the judge will surely rely on. And if you read carefully the Porret case, it says that there are other avenues, there are other safety nets available so that you are able to prove any element of biasness. Linked to that, though, is this. There's another opportunity for the former president to then say, the way in which the prosecution has handled themselves is not something which is noble. In order for me to prove that, please allow me to have access to Section C of the docket, which is not readily given to the defense, because I want to see what type of communications were taking place between the prosecution and the investigating officer. Are there inferences that I can draw in which I can then be able to prove, in line with my Section 174 application, in line with the type of questions I'll be posing to the different witnesses that are there, that really it became a point where the prosecutor was not doing the job in terms of the NPA Act. Actually, they had a vendetta against me as a person, and they wanted to do all means possible to make sure that I'm convicted, including making sure that the conduct that they engaged in is not that of a prosecutor.
If Billy Downer is removed come October 26th, that order is granted to Zuma's legal counsel, what will be the way forward then? What is likely to happen?
With the current system that we have, with the current law that's applicable, the removal of one prosecutor simply means that another prosecutor comes in and they simply continue with the case as if nothing didn't happen. But let's remember the type of submissions that were made by Advocate Dalimpof yesterday, where he was referring to the whole of NPA being tainted, basically saying, based on that, then you must then remove or sort of declare that this matter cannot be prosecuted by the NPA. So there's not even a need for my client to go into the witness box. There's not even a need for the merits of this case to be ventilated. I do not think the courts will sway towards that particular argument, because they will say there are other safety nets and safeguards that have been created by our Constitution and the Criminal Procedure Act to guard against those things. To simply shut down a matter at this initial stage or at this early stage without the evidence in which the state relies on being heard in this particular court is indeed against the very spirit of our Constitution, and it's not justifiable in any legislative framework.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mpumelelo Zikalala. Just touching on the legal ambits of the case, we just spoke to the Jacob Zuma Foundation's Mzwanele Mani, and earlier on a brief moment with Advocate Dalimpof, all now waiting for October 26th, where we will hear if indeed Advocate William Downer will continue as a prosecutor in this case. Back to you.
Karinda Jagmohan from the Pietermaritzburg High Court, thank you for that recap.